Woman beside me just goes nuts. Ref, ref! She starts yelling at the referee, turn around, turn around. Hey everybody, today we are talking about an event that was maybe the most impactful thing to ever happen to me. I was just 10 years old. It was WCW, a house show in the Charleston Coliseum where me and my cousins went to live pro wrestling for the first time ever. There are a few crystal clear memories, though, that I can recall, and I've held on to those an entire lifetime. And I'm going to go over a few of them here on the channel. And in this box right here, we're going to open it. Somebody who is very important tied to this card that I first attended in 1992. A wonderful figure in here that I can't wait to show you guys that I just had to have to commemorate the occasion. It was on Valentine's Day, 1992, 34 years ago, coming up this weekend, and it's a day that I truly fell in love with wrestling. It's basically a holy day to me. It's part of my wrestling fan origin story, and this is my 35th year as a wrestling fan and my 10th year of ring announcing, and so I'm already feeling super nostalgic, ergo why I had to have this figure to commemorate it, and spoiler, it's going to be a year of some personal reflection here on the channel because of all these things I just mentioned. I hadn't been watching wrestling that long, but I had been consuming every bit of it almost from the get-go, whether it was All-Star Wrestling from WWF or Worldwide or the other syndicated shows. And that's the crazy part, is they weren't just syndicated. They weren't B shows to me. They were just the shows when you're 10 years old. And these are the superstars of my early fandom. But it had to be this event that solidified my fandom. Being there live definitely changed the way I looked at things. And maybe I would have grown out of it without going to this event. We'll never know. But this is definitely where I feel like I solidified my fandom of professional wrestling. And because of this, like anything from 91 and 92 is my favorite stuff. It's at least my favorite stuff to go back and watch now. I made a playlist, and I'll link it down in the description of this video, of WCW 1992, of old worldwides, and those syndicated shows, and like I mentioned, and some of the television from around this era, because it's the build to Super Brawl 2. And anybody on around this time, anybody on this playlist, in fact, they just posted on the Vault channel, Clash of the Champions 18. If you watch that, it's from January of 92. You get an idea of my true fandom. You get a real glimpse of all the main characters that make up my fandom of early days. And watching those old worldwides, I've noticed like they open with this panning shot of the arena and all of the fans. And then they flash to the ring, and it looks kind of primitive now compared to what they do on Raw, but it looks very cool from back in the day. And I remember the feeling that I had that day. I can picture it in my mind of when we first walked out of the concourse into the arena, and I could see the ring. It looked just like it did on television. That the black and blue and yellow ropes, it looked exactly like you saw it on Saturday on Worldwides and on Saturday night's on WCW Saturday night. There may as well have been nobody else in the entire arena. I remember zoning in on that ring, and there may as well have been nobody else in the entire place. It's just us, just me in that ring for a moment there, and that's the memory that I hold on to. And the other thing I remember right after that was when the show started, about to start, Gary Michael Capetta comes out there and announced that Sting and Elegante would not be appearing. And the thing I remember about this is that he said they would be offering refunds up until the intermission of the show. And I was like, who would want a refund? Like, who would want to leave? Who would just want their money back and not come and enjoy the wrestling? That's how I felt, immediately as a kid. I was like, who would do that? And those were two big stars, at least, Sting and Elegante. And I'm sure Sting had been advertised, but I'm going to throw the card up here and in a second, and it's incredible. There were a few stars that weren't there, including Lex Luger, the champ, who was like audibly off of television getting ready for Sting at Super Brawl 2, which is also posted on there, and it's in my playlist as well. The build to Super Brawl 2 is what this television is all about. And just look at this card. I mean, a ton of Hall of Famers. And at this point, everybody's probably considered mid-card, upper mid-card at best. But, I mean, these are the names that are widely associated with the greatest workers of all time. I mean, we've got Barry Windham, Arn Anderson, Steve Austin, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Of course, Ricky Morton's on here as well. He was wrestling Richard Morton. That was his name then because he was part of the York Foundation. I mean, come on. That stuff was so great. Richard Morton and Thomas Rich. And the other thing I remember is the Steiner brothers and the Young Pistols. Like, I just remember how over they were. The entire arena was just so loud for the Steiner brothers. In my mind, there's like a small clip of the Frankensteiner, or it may have been the top rope DDT off the shoulders of Scotty. There's a match between these guys on my playlist, but it's a TV match, and it's much different. The Steiners come out with the Bulldog, and Tracy Smothers is walking all over the arena like this. I mean, it's such a television match, and I'm sure it was way different than what we got that night at the Civic Center. But I just love the feeling of getting to go back and watch those teams wrestle. And I know I went, probably during the next match is probably when we went to the concession stand and checked out the merchandise. And I'm pretty sure I came home with two things. I talked about one of them on my Lex Luger Eras video, which is that copy of the WCW magazine. I think it's the spring of '92 issue. I've got it hanging up on the wall back there, but it's got Sting and Luger right there on the front. It's all about Super Brawl 2, and this is like, I bought that magazine that day, and it's got to be the first wrestling magazine I ever bought. And I just cherish it so much. And when I got back into collecting, that was one of the first things I looked for and bought almost immediately, was a minty copy of that first WCW magazine that I ever had. It's just like so near and dear to my heart. But we also bought the Steiner Brothers poster, which I'll throw in here with the lightning in the background. And that thing hung in my bedroom for years. I would love to have another copy of those. They're pretty pricey these days because there's so many people like me who just associate their early fandom with Rick and Scott, the Steiner brothers. And they were on their way to winning the tag team belts. They actually, I think they got them at Super Bowl. And as you'll see here, the champs were Arn Anderson and Bobby Eaton. And those are one of the teams that I credit with teaching me about heel wrestling. Arn and Bobby were the champs of my early childhood fandom. And now 34 years later, I can look at this card and I see the names of my heroes. But they're also people I've gotten to work with as a ring announcer, and I've gotten to talk to them and tell them it's the coolest thing in the world to be able to say to them, you know, you were one of the first people I ever saw live. You know, you are ingrained. You and those storylines are ingrained inside of me. That's the wrestling that I love the most. And the fact, this being my 10th year announcing, I'm excited this year. I'm already planning to work with a few of the guys from this card this year. I'm going to talk about that at the very end of the video. But the final thing I wanted to get to, and leading up to this figure, what's inside this box, there was one manager. I can't remember if Paulie Dangerously was there. I don't think he was. They're in the main event cage match, you know, with the Dangerous Alliance. And if he was there, I'm sure he found some creative way to get involved. I mean, the cell phone was the thing back then, man. That big, huge cell phone. Paulie always found a way to get involved in some manner. And I'm sure he did if he was there that night. But I do know there was one manager there that night, and that was Harley Race, who former NWA champion. But to me at that time, I didn't really know that. They said that on television, but to me, he was the manager of the WCW champion, the Total Package, Lex Luger. But he was also managing the Total Package's bodyguard. That's right. Total Protection, Mr. Hughes. And they were in the opening match. As you see here, Mr. Hughes took on Van Hammer in the opening contest. And I remember this because it involved Race. He like clocked Heavy Metal Van Hammer while he was like leaning on the ropes. Woman beside me just goes nuts. Ref, ref. She starts yelling at the referee. Turn around, turn around. Of course, Mr. Hughes wins the match. 1, 2, 3, ding, ding, ding. And she stands up. Oh, she sits down. She's all frustrated. I guess she's exasperated for Van Hammer. And she just said, chalk that one up to Harley Race. And I just remember like that reaction really caught me off guard a little bit. And I think it like freed me in a way, because I'm like, you can be one of those screaming people on TV. That's what this is. This is being a part of that. This is what makes this so exciting. And I try to remember that as a ring announcer. I try to remember that enthusiasm when I do my work at the wrestling shows that I work for, because I want to know, you know, it could be somebody's first time. It might be someone's first time. This may be when they fall in love with wrestling, maybe for a little while or maybe for a lifetime like me. And so I try to keep that in mind at every show I work. This may be somebody's first wrestling show. Here he is, Mr. Hughes, the man who stole the Undertaker's urn. And what's so cool about collecting these days is that there's this proliferation of retro toy companies, and guys are getting maybe their first figure ever. And this is Mr. Hughes' second figure, as far as I can tell. He's got an FTC that came out, but only in 2023. But this is the Heels and Faces, and this is what I bought to commemorate my 10th year of ring announcing, and 34 years ago when I saw Mr. Hughes live and up close and in person at the Coliseum. And if you ever get the chance to meet him, he'll talk to you about how he stole the Undertaker's urn. He even keeps like a cell phone at his table that like rolls the clip of the footage of him and the Undertaker's urn. And here's a photo of me working with the man himself from 2018. He came to ASW. I had him sign an 8x10 for me. 24 years later, I was so excited to get to work with Mr. Hughes. He wrestled the franchise. And that may be the first auto I asked about in my ring announcing days. I was a little conscious about that at the time, but I've gotten over that since then, of course. And that's really the greatest part of ring announcing, has been getting to work with these guys. Almost everyone on this card I've gotten to either meet, work with. I've even driven a couple of them, even some of the ones that aren't with us anymore. Got to work with Tracy Smothers a few times. I'm so honored for that. And soon I'm going to get to work with at least four of the guys. More names from this first card ever, and that's because they're coming to the Bash in Beckley, Saturday, June the 6th. Tickets are on sale. Just announced. Barry Windham, Ron Simmons, Arn Anderson, and the champ himself, the total package, Lex Luger. They're all going to be there signing and meeting and greeting with the fans. It's an exciting thing to be a part of. It's the WrestleMania of West Virginia. So check out the Bash in Beckley. And thanks again. I'm trying to soak up every moment of this 10th year of ring announcing. And thanks to Gary Dameron of All Star Wrestling. Thanks to the entire team, Stephen New, and everybody that works behind the scenes to make the shows happen, but also support me in my role as ring announcer. I certainly don't do it alone, and I appreciate being a part of ASW family and all the companies that trust me to work their shows. And I want to thank you for watching. Thanks to my cousins, Joe Ellen, who took me and my other cousins to see wrestling in 1992. Don't know where I'd be without it. And I want to say thanks to you for watching, and I hope you'll come back next time. And more importantly, come see us at the matches.